look, why do you think the drum is beating so frantically for President Trump's impeachment? The fact that they are, not just the Democrats, but also the corrupt Republicans are attacking him and trying desperately to get him out of a situation where he can hold them accountable strongly indicates that he is in the process of doing just that. And we're also seeing a lot of people being arrested. You can see the way that they're working their way up these organizations, and you're seeing people come right out and say it. I mean, I don't know if you saw this on the blog the other day, but let me point this out to you. Let's see. First of all, high-placed federal law enforcement sources dropped a bombshell, claiming the renewed push to impeach the president is rooted in part in President Trump's move to pull the United States out of the conflict in Syria, which will stop untold millions in dirty cash from flowing into the deep state's pockets. This isn't about the Kurds, it's about the cash, one FBI source said. And that cash is no chump change, it's millions and millions of dollars flowing into the coffers of crooked politicians and deep state pockets worldwide. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Then, very recently, the names of some of the largest GOP critics of President Donald Trump are surfacing in the investigations of a politician indicted on charges of fraud, human smuggling, selling children, forgery, conspiracy, and ripping off the Arizona healthcare cost containment system. GOP critics of President Trump, including former U.S. Senator Jeff Flake, late Senator John McCain, and Senator Mitt Romney, among others, are linked to suspect Paul Peterson. The new bombshell allegations coming out of Arizona. Arizona Senator Farnsworth said he's been looking into how the Department of Child Services lost more than 550 children last year, roughly half of whom are categorized as either runaways or missing. The rest appear to be flagged for paperwork errors. He said he fears the children have been abducted and sold into a global sex trafficking ring. Now, this is not, wild-eyed 4chan conspiracy stuff. This is a senator. Let me see if he's a state senator or not. Let's see here. Yeah, he's a state senator, Republican member of the Arizona Senate representing District 16. So you have a state senator coming out and making these very, very serious charges. Why do you think he's doing so now? Why do you think he even knows about it now? And so, when you look at this, and this other guy, Paul Peterson's already been arrested. Let me see what Paul Peterson arrested. Let's see. He was indicted in an adoption fraud scheme. Let's see. Arranged for 28 pregnant women from the Republic of Marshall Islands to travel to Arizona to place their children for adoption over the past 4 years. It is illegal for Marshallese women to travel to the United States for the purpose of adoption. It also scammed the Arizona Medicaid system for $814,000. He also faces he was charged with 11 other felonies, including communications fraud, human smuggling, and the sale of a child. Faces 19 federal charges related to allegations he illegally brought 4 people to the U.S. So this is from USA Today. This is mainstream news. So this is it said no, the state senate. Well, I don't know about the one from Arizona, but there's one from Arkansas who she and her husband were apparently killed, but that was like 4 years ago, or maybe even more. That was a while ago. Probably connected, right? You would assume that it was connected, but what's the difference? The difference now is the God Emperor. The difference is President Trump. He is draining the swamp. He is fighting the swamp, and he is bringing justice slowly, inexorably. And the way that you can tell who is probably involved is by looking at who is shrieking in outrage and desperately trying to get Trump out of office. The reason they're trying to get him out of office is because he's actually doing something. And that's something that I've never understood about the so-called black-pilled, Trump is doing nothing. I've said repeatedly, he is already the best U.S. president since Andrew Jackson. If he is able to, if he's able to bring all the people to justice, right up to those big names who have been shrieking about impeachment and desperately trying to stop him, if he's able to bring people like Hillary Clinton and Mitt Romney to face justice for what appear to be some unspeakable and horrific crimes, then he will definitely be the best president since George Washington. Is he doing everything that we would like him to do? Doesn't seem like it yet, but you can only do so much. And I think that if these rumors and conspiracy theories about these horrific human trafficking rings are real, then that's one of the most important things he can do. Do you think Pence would continue this mission if he was to get removed? I'm dubious, but I don't believe that Trump will be removed, because I think that he is protected materially. I think he is protected militarily, and I think he is protected spiritually. There are tens of thousands of people praying for that man, praying that he will be protected and praying that he will be successful. And I believe that he is going to be successful. There's a reason why Hillary Clinton is warning about deep fake videos and stuff. They know stuff is going to come out because they did stuff. And I'm not talking about some of the totally insane rumors and stuff that are floating around. I don't give any credence to that. But whatever it is obviously bad enough that they're trying to get out in front of it. The reason I don't think that it's some of that over-the-top stuff, and no, you don't need to spell it out in the comments to prove that you're a smart boy who reads 8chan. The reason that I think that it's probably not that over the top is because if it was that over the top, they wouldn't even be trying to get out in front of it. Yeah, of course I've heard of satanic panic. I think satanic panic is rhetoric designed to defuse and hide stories that happen to leak their way out. My belief is my belief is that things are much worse than the people who were concerned about the satanic panic in the 80s ever believed or suspected. Yeah, I think satanic panic is right up there with conspiracy theory. Obviously, I mean, in some ways you could almost argue that it was more successful. Except I don't think most people took either the stories or the satanic panic rhetoric seriously. Lars Peterson says Sticks and Hammer constantly talks about Satan. That's because he doesn't believe in the spiritual world. So he thinks that it is, he thinks that it's all false, naturally, but he's wrong. You know, the fallen world is ruled by the prince of this world, who is also known as Satan, and he's evil. His servitors are evil. They're powerful and they're evil. But they are terrified of Jesus Christ and they fear his followers because we are given the spiritual ability to stand against them. No, I think that Satan probably is and should be considered a small g god, in the same way that he's certainly more powerful than a lot of the lesser demons and stuff that are worshipped as them. But when you look at the material evil in the world, the palpable evil in the world, when we were talking, when I was talking some time ago to Mike Cernovich and Stefan Molyneux about the whole spirit cooking thing, neither of them are Christians, but both of them said, just being forced to confront the reality of evil was suddenly making them understand the Christian perspective a lot better. When you confront evil, when you see it and you can't look away from it, whether it's in yourself or whether it's something that you happen to witness in others, and you can't look away from it, you can't deny it, you are forced to put it into some sort of conceptual framework, and the only one that really fits properly is Christianity. If you look into other religions, other philosophies, and that sort of thing, they don't really have a consistent intellectual, conceptual framework for evil that fits what we observe and that fits what we see. And that's why it's so important to not look away from it and not hide from it and not be in denial of it, because the more that you see the truth, the more you accept the truth, the more that you're able to understand and accept the truth. Defiance Bear says, your thoughts on the idea that other gods are actually demons? I understand its biblical examples. Yeah, for example, when you're worshiping the god Thor and you are, or Odin, and you are offering a sacrifice to him called the blood eagle, that involves carving two deep incisions into a man's back and flipping out his lungs so it looks like the wings of an eagle. You are offering blood sacrifice to a demon. Don't do that. Obtaining power through blood. I mean, we're even seeing that in a scientific sense from the wackos out in Silicon Valley who are trying to live forever. It always comes down to blood and blood sacrifice. Why do you think that is? Blood rituals and sex rituals are the way that, and also drugs. That's where the word sorcery comes from, if you recall. Sex, drugs, and blood. It's been there throughout all of human history. Why? Why would that always be repeated over and over again for thousands of years unless it worked in some capacity in certain circumstances? You would think that if it was just random, you'd think that would, might involve other things. And yet it repeatedly goes back to sacrifice and blood. Do our elites actively worship Satan? Yes, but they don't consider him Satan. You know, the way that they, I mean, to the extent that I understand it, their mythology would probably center around Lucifer lifting up man from monkey, bringing the light of reason to humanity. And that's why they're constantly focused on inverting the original concept of the light of the world. You know, Jesus is the light of the world. He allows us to be connected to God the Father again. But they try to invert that and say, oh, well, without reason, with the darkness of faith, then Prometheus comes and brings us the light of reason and allows us to become as gods, etc., etc. It's all the same lie. It's the same lie that they're telling back in the Garden of Eden. That's why I think it's always important to pay attention when you see inversion, because wherever you see inversion, that's a very good indicator that there's evil underneath.